Breaking news. Reports coming in from Nigeria's forest regions confirm a violent escalation in the kidnapping crisis. Armed men have struck again. This is not a drill. This is not crime. This is war.
The president was in the Situation Room when the gunfire began, not on the screens but in real time, transmitted through a live drone feed hovering above a forest corridor that had swallowed Nigeria for years. Tinubu stood, jacket off, eyes locked on the wall as armed men burst from the trees below, firing wildly at a convoy they had just ambushed. A bus burned at the roadside. Passengers scattered like prey. The bandits moved with rehearsed cruelty, shooting to wound, dragging bodies by the legs, screaming orders in voices hardened by repetition. "This is happening now," an aide said. Tinubu said nothing. His jaw tightened. On the screen, a man tried to shield his wife. He was shot in the shoulder and kicked aside. Children were yanked from the bus, their cries sharp and uncontrollable. One bandit raised a rifle to silence them. Another laughed. Within minutes, the captives were forced into the bush, swallowed by green darkness. The drone followed until the signal cut out. Tinubu turned to Ribadu. "Launch everything." Within an hour, helicopters were airborne. Armed forest guards moved in fast, not in columns but in scattered, hunting formations. They hit the tree line running. The forest answered immediately. Gunfire cracked from unseen angles. A guard fell face first into the dirt, blood soaking the leaves. Another dragged him back while firing blindly. Bandits melted deeper into the bush, firing and retreating, drawing the guards into narrow paths rigged with traps. Tinubu watched it all. No speeches. No advisors whispering in his ear. Only movement, gunfire, bodies. A second drone feed came alive. Another kidnapping, another location. This one was a village raid. Bandits kicked indoors, dragged families outside, beat men into submission with rifle stocks. A teenage boy tried to run. He was shot through the calf and screamed until someone smashed his face into the ground. Women were bound. A house was set on fire for refusing cooperation. The guards arrived mid-raid, opening fire from both flanks. The fight collapsed into chaos, close-range shooting, screaming, smoke. A bandit charged with a machete and was cut down inches from a guard's face. 2 hostages were killed in the crossfire. Tinubu closed his eyes for half a second. Then, push forward. Night fell. The fighting didn't stop. Forest guards tracked heat signatures through the dark, moving silently, surrounding a moving hostage group. When they struck, it was brutal. Bandits fired back blindly, using captives as cover. Guards advanced anyway. One took a bullet to the arm and kept moving. Another tackled a gunman off a ridge. They fought hand to hand, rolling in mud and blood. A guard crushed a bandit's throat with his boot and vomited afterward, then kept going. At 2:17 a.m., intelligence confirmed the bandit commander was nearby, directing movements through runners and gunfire. Tinubu authorized direct pursuit. No delay. No retreat. The final clash happened at dawn. A clearing erupted in sustained gunfire. Bandits charged in waves, screaming, firing wildly. Guards held their ground. A grenade went off, throwing bodies into the air. Smoke covered everything. When it cleared, the commander was down, riddled with bullets, face unrecognizable. The hostages were found minutes later, alive, shaking, covered in blood that wasn't all theirs. Tinubu addressed the nation before sunrise. His voice was hard, steady, unyielding. "We will fight them wherever they hide," he said. "There will be no sanctuary for terror." As the broadcast ended, more drones lifted into the sky. The war was no longer coming. It was already everywhere. By the second week, the briefings no longer used maps. They used timelines. Every hour mattered now. Every delay meant another ransom video, another corpse dumped where it could be found. The president sat through the update standing, refusing the chair, eyes fixed on screens that showed forests breathing with heat signatures and movement. Intelligence confirmed what Tinubu already suspected: the bandits were no longer reacting. They were coordinating. They were hunting back. At 3:40 a.m., a coded alert cut through the room. A convoy carrying abducted civil servants had changed direction unexpectedly. The drone feed flickered, then stabilized, revealing a narrow forest track barely wide enough for vehicles. Armed men moved alongside the trucks, rifles raised, scanning the trees. Children were inside. The audio feed caught crying. Tinubu leaned forward. "They know we're close." Minutes later, gunfire erupted without warning. The lead truck swerved, hit a buried obstacle, and flipped. Guards hidden in the tree line opened fire, but the bandits had prepared for this. Return fire came from 3 directions. Bullets shredded leaves and bark. A guard was hit in the stomach and dropped, screaming. Another took command, dragging him behind cover while firing short, controlled bursts. The president watched as the firefight stalled. No one advanced. No one retreated. Hostages were visible now, tied, kneeling, weapons pressed to their heads. A bandit shouted something inaudible, then raised his rifle deliberately. Tinubu slammed his fist on the table. "Move." The order went out instantly. A flanking unit broke cover, sprinting through gunfire. One fell. Another reached the hostages and was shot point-blank. The shot that followed killed both the bandit and the hostage behind him. The camera shook violently as the drone adjusted altitude. When it was over, 7 hostages were alive. 5 were not. There was no victory announcement. Hours later, reports came in of retaliation. Bandits attacked 2 villages simultaneously, burning homes, executing men in front of their families, abducting anyone young enough to walk. One video surfaced online before it could be taken down. A masked man spoke directly to the president, holding a blooded ID card to the camera. "You cannot save them all." Tinubu did not respond publicly. Instead, he authorized the most aggressive directive yet. Forest guards were now permitted to pursue without pause, without warning, without negotiation. Helicopters began flying at night. Drones stayed airborne for days. Roads leading into forest zones were shut down completely. Then the guards started disappearing. One patrol stopped responding mid-operation. The drone feed went dark. When backup arrived, they found blood trails leading into thick bush and 2 severed radios hanging from branches. No bodies. No messages. Just silence. The tension inside the presidency thickened. Advisors urged caution. International partners called. Tinubu ignored them all. According to sources present, he ordered continuous operations until the kidnapping stopped, regardless of cost. At 1:12 a.m. the following night, a high-priority signal came in. A large concentration of hostages was detected moving toward a deep forest basin long considered unreachable. Intelligence suggested this was not just a holding area. It was a trap. Tinubu studied the live feed for a long moment. He understood what the bandits were doing. They were baiting the state, daring it to come deeper, daring it to choose between caution and blood. "Send them," he said finally. "All of them." As units advanced, gunfire echoed through the trees in staggered bursts. The forest swallowed sound again. The drone feed showed only shadows and movement, flashes of light, bodies falling and rising. A guard whispered into his emissary, breath shaking, "We're surrounded." The transmission cut off. In the situation room, no one spoke. Screens flickered. Timers ran. Somewhere in the forest, Nigerians were fighting, dying, waiting. And the president stood there. Dawn did not arrive quietly. It tore through the forest with gunfire. At 5:06 a.m., the drone feeds came back online one by one, each revealing a different pocket of chaos. Armed forest guards were pinned down in a basin of thick trees and broken rocks, firing from behind fallen logs as bandits closed in from higher ground. The enemy had the advantage of elevation, numbers, and familiarity. They shouted commands. They whistled signals. They moved like men who believed the state had finally walked into its grave. In the situation room, President Tinubu watched without blinking. A guard unit tried to break left and was cut down immediately. Another pushed forward, crawling through mud and gunfire, reaching a cluster of hostages bound together under a tree. A bandit opened fire into the group without hesitation. 2 captives dropped instantly. The guard returned fire at point-blank range, emptied his magazine, then shielded the survivors with his body as bullets tore into the trunk behind them. "Air support," an aide said urgently. "Now." Tinubu shook his head. "Too close." The forest exploded anyway. A hidden explosive detonated near the center of the basin, throwing bodies into the air. The shockwave knocked cameras sideways. For several seconds, nothing but smoke and screaming filled the feeds. When the picture steadied, the scene was worse. Bandits were charging downhill, firing wildly, trying to overwhelm the guards before reinforcements could reach them. One guard stood up into the fire, screaming as he shot, refusing to retreat. He went down seconds later. Tinubu leaned forward. "Push the right flank. Collapse it." Orders moved faster than thought. Units that had been waiting silently for hours surged from cover. Gunfire erupted from unexpected angles. Bandits fell, shocked, confused. The forest guards pressed in hard, no longer retreating, no longer negotiating distance. It became close. Brutal. Personal. Knives flashed. Rifles became clubs. Men fought in mud and blood, choking, grappling, biting. A bandit tried to detonate a vest and was shot through the head before he could pull the trigger. Another grabbed a hostage and was dragged down by 3 guards at once.